Álvarez to Atletico Madrid. Here we go. That was my Fabrizio Romano impression in temp there. Pretty poor if you ask me, and I'm sure you're going to tell me how bad it is in the comments below. Feel free to do so. 95 million euros for Julián Álvarez is some good money. It's good money. I think it's reasonable. It is 95 million euros, 70 million euros up front, 25 million euro add-ons. It's one of those deals that, first of all, it's a club record sale, which I think is fantastic. It's fantastic business for Manchester City, in particular when you include the fact that we bought him for £14 million. And City just doing the right thing, doing our homework, getting it right in the transfer market, and selling the player that's been at our club for a year, nearly pretty much 2 years now, for 5 times the amount we spent on him. That's incredible business, and just shows that City are not just this club that cherry pick the best players from the market, a la Real Madrid. Who's the best out there right now? Go and get them. Whatever the cost, it doesn't matter. Nah, do your homework, mate. Do your homework. Find these best players, deep, underground players. There's some gems that can be unearthed, and they're out there. And could Cheeky Bergenstein kick into action again and find another? Do City need to replace him? Have we already got a replacement at the club? All questions I want you to answer in the comment sections below, so drop a like and subscribe to Typical City while you're there. But the move is one of those deals that I think the aura around it is actually shocked the Premier League. First of all, this is hands down the biggest deal of the transfer market so far. Lately, it's been all Atletico Madrid again, by the way. Conor Gallagher going to Atletico Madrid. So I was more concerned about who's going to pay what we want for Álvarez and how have Atletico Madrid got this money. Doing a little bit of homework, they've recently received private equity, a capital injection they've received, which is going into very different subjects and how La Liga and being bought by private equity firms and how the landscape of football is being changed and how ownership models work and capital coming in from private equity companies, with Real Madrid and Barcelona very much unhappy with that, and the league itself, La Liga, receiving capital investment as well. It's all getting very, very complicated, as it is over here, and money is very much at the nucleus of all of these complications. A separate subject for another day. But as a fan, what we're interested in is the players. And Álvarez is a player that is leaving the club that normally, if you look around at the Premier League, a player of that calibre would be a disaster for any Premier League team to lose him. And that just shows how well run the structure of Manchester City Football Club just is absolutely near perfection. It's impeccable. It really is. It's so good. The idea that we could lose a player that last season coughed up 32 goal contributions, and while Atletico Madrid are paying top money for that level of goal contributions, any club in the world would be hitting the panic button. The fan base would be going, oh shit, we've just lost 32 goal contributions. Now, there is reason to be a little bit concerned as City, because it's like, well, surely we need to think about the replacement. I don't want to over-sugarcoat this sale to be a good thing. Losing Álvarez and 32 goal contributions needs replacing. But the narrative around it all, you've got to factor in that 32 goal contributions came from Álvarez because Kevin De Bruyne wasn't in the team. Let's say Kevin De Bruyne is fit for 2/3 of next season. I think we'll be pretty close to replacing those numbers straight away with Kevin De Bruyne, immediately. So, first of all, the idea that Álvarez it would start for Manchester City is a myth as well, which just shows what a wonderful football club we are to have players of this quality, that we signed him for £14 million, don't forget. So it's like, oh, of course, anyone can buy all the best players in the world. Well, £14 million Álvarez cost. Don't forget that. £14 million Álvarez cost, and he gave us 32 goal contributions last season. He wouldn't get in our starting 11 if everyone's fit, though. That's the surprise factor for a lot of Premier League clubs out there, and is why they would love the idea of Álvarez coming to their football club, which is great news for City that he hasn't gone to a Premier League rival, at least, with Arsenal apparently sniffing around. He can piss off, mate. Atletico Madrid, I don't think there's a threat there. From the player's point of view, Álvarez, I understand why he's gone. There's an aspect to it that I don't think many fans have really looked into as well, but the obvious ones are minutes. He did play well over 3,000 minutes last season, which was the 9th most in the squad. last season, which makes him predominantly a starting 11 player, but it's the big games that he wanted to play in. He was really keen to play in the Real Madrid games, where he only played 3 minutes in the first leg and the extra time before penalties in the second leg. The final 4 games of the season, he played 17 minutes when we went on to win the Premier League. So that was a real indication that he was not going to be a starting 11 player if everyone's fit. And the same is probably going to be said for this season if he was still at a Manchester City shirt, which he still is, by the way. This deal's not been completed officially, but still, it looks like it's happening. There's 2 aspects, actually, that I don't think many fans... One thing that we've been complaining about as City fans is he's been a square peg in a round hole. Maybe he thinks that. Maybe he's been thinking the same thing, like he's fed up of playing in attacking midfield. He wants to be the main man. He wants to be the centre forward. I think that's could be a lot of his thinking. The other aspect that I'm pretty sure not many are really thinking about is the Diego Simeone factor. He's a legend, an Argentinian legend, Simeone. And the idea that Alvarez, who looks like the same, like tenacious, they're all tenacious, aren't they, the Argentinians? I love their attitudes, the way they apply themselves to a football match. They are dogged, aren't they? They're aggressive, they're very Simeone style. Alvarez is the same. He runs about, he runs his socks off. He fits the bill. And I think the idea of him playing for Simeone, although Pep Guardiola is, top, Pep Guardiola's Pep Guardiola, it just doesn't seem like the fit doesn't seem quite there because of Haaland. So Alvarez has to be shoehorned in other positions, and Alvarez wants to feel more like the main man. I understand that. Atletico Madrid have coughed up, so it sounds like everyone's getting the best of both worlds here. This is the deal that suits everybody. All parties are reasonably happy. Which means City fans, we have to move on. We have to get on with life and start to consider what's the options now. What do we do now? Replacements, for example. Do we need to go into the market? Are City going to be tempted with that money that City have received, 95 million euros eventually, 70 million in the bank now, to go and spend on a player? Now, there's one player that I think a lot of City fans have linked already, which has been heavily linked as well, is Alvarez, which... I'm not 100% sold on that idea, to be honest. He's 26. He's got a little bit of an injury record, but I think there's goals and assists in him, and playing in a Manchester City team, I think his levels will rise to the players that are surrounding him. And I think that's going to be the case for pretty much any player that's coming from that standard of player like Eze. I quite like the idea. It's okay. There's problems to it. I don't know. I'm not completely sold. There's good and bad to the idea of Eberechi. My opinion, which haven't heard any, we've not been linked with him, but throwing my 2 cents in would be Luis Openda from RB Leipzig. Last season, 35 goal contributions last season. He scored 3 against Manchester City last season. He's someone who's very much fits. He's a similar style player to Alvarez. So if you want an actual like for like centre forward, though, that's the thing. Is he going to be playing centre forward? No, Erling Haaland is. So you've got the same problem. You're just buying the same problem. And will he be happy to come to a Manchester City side knowing that he ain't going to play as a centre forward? If he does play, it's going to be in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne or Phil Foden. Maybe on the wing, like Alvarez was used on the wing like once last season. And maybe that was a turning point for Alvarez. Like, you're sticking me on the left wing, mate. All right, I'm done. So, understandably, if players want to play in their favourite positions to get the best of their own ability, and he backs himself, Alvarez. But Luis Openda's my shout for a direct replacement. I don't think City are going to go in the market, though. I'm not convinced that we will. There may be, but I want to rewind the clock and talk about times where City fans have panicked. Even Pep stoked the fire a little bit with the idea of Aguero's going. And he shed a tear, didn't he? He got upset saying we cannot replace him. I think he was talking more about the human being that was leaving the club and the legendary status that he left behind at Manchester City Football Club. But City were patient. We didn't panic. We went a year without a centre-forward. We thought, okay, we haven't got a centre-forward now. What are we going to do? I don't know. We'll play Phil Foden there, maybe Bernardo Silva there a little bit. Gabriel Jesus would come on here and there as well, which is a centre-forward, but he predominantly played on the bench that season. And we won the league with a false 9 system without an out-and-out centre-forward. And we went and won the league. The next year, the patience shone through and it bared fruit, and we went and signed Erling Haaland and we won the league again and again after that as well with Erling Haaland. So the patience factor may need to be applied, and maybe that's what needs to be applied this time round, because you look at the situation with Wirtz and Musiala, And I mean, that's, for me, if you're a City fan, that they're the two players, one of the two, ideally both, let's not get greedy, one of the two would be an absolute sensational signing for Manchester City. My preference is Wirtz. I know more people prefer Musiala, but I'm more of a Wirtz fan. I do quite like Wirtz. I think he suits City a little bit more. Musiala's obviously English spoken as well. He can speak English quite fluently. Had a long period of time in England as well, so I think he would bed in quite well. I don't think there's any problem to either of them. I just slightly prefer 51-49 in Wirtz's favour. But the point being, patience could be a factor here. Could City just hang on to this money that we've received, plus all the other money, by the way? So we're winning that trophy, the net spend trophy that Liverpool very much like to. They need an open-top bus parade for their net spend trophy award, don't they? City are doing that quietly as well. We're not even bragging about it. Well, I am right now, but we're bragging about it a bit low-key. You know, we keep it low-key. They don't want City to be known as a club that's well-ran. We're meant to be that ugly club that throw cash everywhere and ruin football. That's the image everyone wants. Not the idea that we buy players for 14 million, then sell them for 95 million euros. That's not the image that the world wants to have of us, because that's good business. And that doesn't suit the narrative that's very much anti-Man City. So unfortunately, they're going to have to swallow that pill. But what are City going to have to swallow this season? With the absence of 32 goal contributions from Manchester City's squad, that's not an easy task. Now we've signed Savio. So immediately you can think, well, there's 21 goal contributions. Last season, 10 goals and 11 assists to his name in La Liga, which is fantastic. I think it might be the other way around, actually, 11 goals, 10 assists. Can't remember which way it was, but it's 21 goal contributions for Savio. Fantastic. So you bring that into the Manchester City squad. Kevin De Bruyne is going to be fit, hopefully, for a bigger chunk of the season compared to last season. Phil Foden, if he can continue that vein of form that he was in last season in a City shirt, unbelievable. You bring Kevin De Bruyne from the start of the season. Well, it won't be exactly the start with fitness and things and players coming back off holiday and things like that, but still. Oscar Bob, that's the name I know everyone's waiting to hear me say. Oscar Bob. If you bring in Savio for 21 goal contributions, we are 11 goal contributions short if you want to work maths out like this. And football doesn't work like this, I'm well aware of that. But you bring in Oscar Bob, surely he can fill that gap for those 11 goals that would be missing from our 32 goal contributions that Alvarez gave us last season. Surely Oscar Bob can fill that void. I believe he can, absolutely. He's going to have to bide his time. He too has to be patient in a Manchester City shirt. But the idea that we need to panic and go straight into the market, I'm not a believer in that. I think we need to bide our time. If the deal is there and it's obvious and it would definitely help Manchester City's cause, but you go and sign an Alvarez, City fans, and me included, are still going to be like, go and get Wirtz, because that's top creme de la creme, or Musiala. And then you've got the same problem with Alvarez. You've bought a player and spending all. We'd have to spend pretty much all of the money we've recouped off Alvarez. We'd have to spend the majority of that on Eze, or anyone really to replace Alvarez. We're going to have to spend top money unless we go into the South American market again and find a gem, or wait for Echeverri. What's he called? I've forgotten his name. Echeverri. To come in a Manchester City shirt. That would be fantastic for him to hit the ground running. Something like that. That would be nice. But the idea that we need to go straight into the market, I don't think we do. I'd rather be patient, because if we were to go to target Wirtz or Musiala and we sign a player in the interim, we've got a year of a player that's like, in a year's time, that player's now a problem. You know, we've got to find minutes and we have to sell them again. And will we make money on that player? Will it be a loss? You know, and I don't think City operate like that. I don't think we operate in too much in the panic sense. You know, I think, look at Matheus Nunes. It's starting to look, I hope he finds more time in a City shirt. But Matheus Nunes is another player for me that I feel like City rushed a little bit in that deal. And it's not really beared any fruit for us. And I think there's still hope there. I've not given up on Matheus Nunes. I know a lot of City fans have. I personally think we might see some more of him. I hope we do. But it's a separate subject for another day. But the point being is I don't think City needs to rush into the market to replace Julián Álvarez. But 95 million euros is a fantastic bit of business, considering that we spent 14 million pounds on him. Excellent business from Manchester City. But do we need to replace him immediately, or have we already got the players like Oscar Bob in the squad that will do the job? Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections below. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.